Hello guys, today we'll be looking at a scenario if what if civilizations start over. This will be episode 1 and I hope you enjoy. We begin the series by, we're going to begin the series by starting in Spain. So the first civilization begins here. And they're gonna begin expanding down the Iberian coast. And they will continue exploring. So the king of red team orders some travel in the sea. However they get lost in the sea and they're presumed dead. So they continue expanding inland. And begin having more settlements around the coast. And more inland. So after the failed exploration in the west, they will continue exploring in the east, following the river. However, the group that was sent up east wasn't happy with the decision of the king, as there was already a mistake down where Mallorca is. So they will break away from the kingdom and start their own nation up here. So they'll break off and they'll continue exploring, but more moderately. So the Red King is mad at the newly formed Blue Nation. So begin rapid exploration in the central areas of Spain. And he will begin the he will begin forcing people to live there under the name of the Red Nation. So there will begin a mass settlement of central Spain. While the Blue Nation continues exploring in the east. Finding around where modern day Gibraltar is, and creating a trade path there. And going back to it, the explorers that traveled navally to the east, didn't really die, and they explored where modern day Mallorca is. and settle down there, believing that they're miles away from home. As the ship went off course, meanwhile, the king, the king in the king in the east, the Red King, begins high taxation to keep up the exploration, makes the south of the nation unhappy, causing them to break away from the Red Nation. Uh, the rebellion begins, and many people are in support of it, as they are heavily opposed from the Red King. So the Red King has to sue for peace, which leaving the Red Nation slightly crippled and unable to continue exploring, which the Lime Nation will continue. And they will begin exploring south. Meanwhile, back at the Blue Nation, the explorations the explorations in Gibraltar is going well, giving them a strong coastline, giving them a strong and a thriving economy, which lets them explore more, lets them explore more of Spain, and let them have a strong and thriving nation. Meanwhile, back at the Red King, he tries sending out another exploration team in down east, and eventually finds the sailors that traveled east a few years earlier, and they will begin trading, and this will help the Red Nation the Red King bring back some trust with his people, and let the Orange Nation get stronger. So they begin having strong relations with each other, while the Blue Nation send loads of explorers down south, and they stop where modern day Lisbon is, and form a new nation, which has strong ties with the blue team. Lime team continues the naval exploration as now Mallorca, the nation of Mallorca, has been discovered. They hope to find more islands, however, no luck for them so far. And Red team continue meeting up with Blue team, having better trading relations with them. Meeting up with the Blue team, Now, red red team with the help of Mallorca and getting multipliers from blue team begins the invasion of the lime team, and they begin destroying the army as the lime team was unprepared, and as they reach the major settlements, the lime team surrenders, and which makes the red nation extremely powerful and lets them explore more down in the central regions with the help of with the help of the blue team, and they expand their borders more. While the while the green Portuguese nation continued exploring more of his southern Spain, and and try and and they tried to expand much like the blue red team. However, whilst expanding, many people down south begin rebelling away, unhappy with the highly expansionist and being ruled basically by a blue team. So they begin rebelling. However, not that strong. So it was after a while there was the uh, the Portuguese and the pink team sue for peace, leaving the boards like this, and the green team and dark green team is slightly this green team slightly destroyed and forces them to be more reliant on the blue team. And now the lime team, they are bitter from the recent wars, so began exploring heavily and work on the naval assets. So they finally reached the coast of Africa and set up a colony there, and begin expanding more in Spain. Now the red Now the Red King mm, asks the Mallorcan nation to unite. However, Mallorca denies them, so the red team begins to go to war, and they take them out quite easily and fully annex them. This makes the blue team kind of angry at the red team for being too aggressive, so they cut ties with them and begin exploring more of Spain, to stop red team expansions. And finally reaching with green Portugal. However, the recent breakup with the blue team leaves and the contestation for inner Spain. Uh, so so the so the Red King begins another exploration up north to find new lands, and they begin exploring modern day France. And they cut off blue team north from the land up north, back to Portugal. The pink Portuguese nation begins exploring more, finally reaching where modern day Morocco is, and meeting up with the Lime Nation, which they begin having strong bonds with. So they begin expanding towards each other and meet up. Now, inner Spain finally gets explored with the help of all of these nations, and so people from blue, red team, Portugal, and both pink and lime nations decide to form a nation in the central areas, hoping to be a peaceful nation. However, all of the nations surrounding them hope to influence them. So both pink and lime team begin expanding towards the nation, meeting up in their southern border. And both however, blue team cuts off red team from expanding towards the purple team, leaving leaving the red king angry, and deciding to go to war. They begin sending forces into the lands, into blue lands, taking over the newly acquired lands and meeting up with the purple team. Then blue team surprised by this as they weren't expecting wars, so getting they continue getting pushed back, and pink team begins their invasion of green Lisbon, seeing how blue team is distracted. Lime team sees this, and he's more in support of blue team, so they cut ties with the pink team and begin invading the red team, hoping to acquire their old lands back. they're successful as the Red Nation wasn't expecting them to join, which helps Blue Team regain their lands back and push back down south. And with their combined forces, they begin a joint invasion with the Lime Team. In the central regions, Red Team continues beating blue forces, moving down the river, while in the north they're they're fully pushed back. They're fully pushed back, and a counter invasion it begins. Going back to Portugal, they're being absolutely destroyed by the Pink Team. Finally they are fully occupied, and Pink Team leaves the war. And continue the Red War. Mallorca rebels from the Red Nation, and they're not hoping to fight a war, and they make a separate peace treaty with the Red Team, where they're giving freedom. The Red Army keeps pushing down, cutting off this region of the Blue Army, so it falls under the occupation of the Lime Team. Which they continue pushing through, and and you and the Red Team's wondering how the campaign in central regions of Spain is going so well, because the Blue Nation was preparing to cut it off completely, meeting up with the Lime Nation and beginning an encirclement of the Red forces. The Red Nation begins getting pushed from the north and the south, so they begin to flee towards where to begin fleeing southwest, where the lands are. This leaves the Red Team weakened, and they sue for peace. Leaves the peace treaty looking like this, leaving Portugal extremely crippled, and Red Team basically leaving them as Catalonia. Mallorca is free. However, Lime Team doesn't have good relations, as they pieced out early, and Blue and Lime Team form a temporary alliance, just in case the central southern area tries to, and the army of the Red Team that fled earlier settles down and begins having strong relations with the Pink Team, as the Golden Nation begins invading the Purple Team with the help of the Pink Team. with the help of the pink team, fully capitulating them, while gold team gets the north and pink team gets the south.